All right, here's a story. It is 5:18 a.m. on Thursday morning on the 27th of October. Earlier, I woke up due to constipation. I was unable to return to sleep and so stayed awake watching YouTube for a bit. Finding nothing interesting, I put the computer away and spent some time thinking and desiring to progress in my search for truth. If I couldn't sleep, perhaps I could spend time thinking about what I had learned so far and asking questions. Had I received God's love yet? What is the nature of God's love? I found myself asleep, but as we all know, one is not always aware of what is happening when one is sleeping. So I was asleep, but not knowing so. There were likely other events in my, quote, sleep state, a period of time in which AJ suggests a person will leave their physical bodies and interact in the spirit world or have dreams. Again, there were likely other events in my sleep state, but I do not now recall them. I will retrace what I remember. I was driving a van, which is my regular job during the daytime. There were two passengers on my van. I didn't know if they were handicapped or not, but they were women and they were rather heavy. They were about my age, between 28 and 31. We were driving somewhere in a nice neighborhood with a rather country like setting. There was a dirt and gravel shoulder besides the main road, but not much of one. I looked up from my driving to see a figure crawling on this gravel and dirt shoulder. I couldn't make it out so well, and chose to stay ignorant of any opinions I may have had. But as I continued to drive, there seemed to be another figure that was being pushed out of a vehicle of some sort, further along. I did not look very well at the vehicle and tried not to pay the events very much mind, perhaps because of a sinking feeling I had in regard to them. What I remember faintly is that there were two women that were pushed out of a car who had some immobility and were crawling helplessly on the gravel road. Of course, at that moment, I was doing my job. One of my excuses, I suppose. I chalked up the vision as happenstance and quickly returned my attention to my work. But I felt some compassion for the poor women and wanted to know more. So I asked one of the passengers behind me in my van about them and if they had seen anything more. They seemed to know a lot more than I. One of them spoke up and said that the women were being abused and had a horrible situation. I looked up once to look in the mirror at the woman talking in my van. She looked normal, but very sad. She didn't appear to be crying. I did not want to feel any personal responsibility for not doing anything for the women who were left on the side of the road. We were long past that point anyway on the journey. There would be no point in going back. I looked up again as the woman in my van who had some rosy makeup on her face and some hair that looked like it took effort to maintain. I could see now that she was crying many tears. Although she seemed to calmly and easily relate the story, tears were streaming down her face. I looked back in front of me as I was driving and wondered why I hadn't seen the tears the first time. Were they not there, or were they, and I just couldn't or didn't want to make them out? We reached the location where I was to drop off these two passengers. I now felt more distant to the strange events because now I definitely had a job to do. I had to drop off these two people, and that took being watchful of my surroundings and being careful in the handling of them. The two passengers, that is. I thought of how I would help them out of the van I was driving, but meanwhile, I was trying to find a place to drop them off. I was not familiar with this area. There was a long drive that seemed to arc. I was driving a large passenger van, and it was important that I find a place to back up. Unfortunately, the drive was single-laned, and there were no places I could see to back up or turn around in as yet. If I couldn't turn around, I would have to either go on the grass, which my boss would yell at me about, or back up the entire length of the drive, which would be stressful and hard. The driveway was unusually long. It was a grassy area, and there were tall trees with canopies high above where they might normally be expected to be. The area seemed ancient. There were some small buildings along the arcing driveway that did not seem to be a part of the main building or area. I didn't know what this place was. I pressed further and finally found a place where I could turn around. There was a ghostly-looking manor which seemed dark and foreign. It was tall and seemed to reach the base of the canopies of the trees which surrounded it. As I was turning in the entryway, something happened. I was lurched away. I was no longer in the dream or spirit reality. I was lost, but I knew where I was. How could this be? How could I be so aware at one moment of what was going on and then so lost to the winds? What was this? I remember a great and deep fear enveloped me. I remember being very aware of what was taking place. I felt I was being attacked. I felt I was out of control. I did not want to be out of control. Everything was swirling darkness. I felt cold. I felt barren. I had no grip on myself. I remember in that moment thinking, maybe this is what I have wanted. Maybe this is the fear that is within me. Maybe I have finally reached some of the fear. I made it. I am here. Let me stay here. But, oh, the dark feeling. It was awful. I seemed to be stuck in a halfway point between sleeping and being awake. I didn't know what it was. I don't know if I was aware of my physical body. I just remember the feeling of being out of control, not being able to grasp anything that was surrounding me. Because I didn't know the place I was in, I was afraid to look around and find out what might be there. Was there someone lurking around in the shadows? I did not want to look. I probably had my eyes closed. I tried to shake, but I wasn't doing a very good job. AJ says that when you are experiencing your fear, let yourself shake. Well, I wasn't making a very good job of the shaking, but I remember how cold it was and the many shivers that went up and down my body. I saw images and faces flash before me. I felt the presence of dark energies surrounding me. I did not want to make them out or confirm the reality of these energies, because they were real people or things I had. Oh. I did not want to make them out or confirm the reality of these energies, whether they were real people or things I had imagined. There was a sinister laugh I could hear. There was a sinister laugh like that of what you would hear in a Halloween film. There was a red mask that floated in the field of my vision. I want to also say that I felt that someone might have taken control of me. That was another deep fear. AJ talks about spirit overcloaking and spirit possession, and I was really afraid that I was being possessed or I was being taken control of. Anyway, I wanted to feel my fear, but I didn't feel that I could hold on to it. I didn't want to be there. I thought to myself, what if I lost my whole grip on reality and succumbed to an eternal bliss? Or, not bliss, abyss. No, I couldn't be here. I let some of the attack I experienced continue for a short time. And now I don't even know if it was attack. Maybe it was Just fear, just simple fear. It felt like I was being attacked, though. But soon the pervasion of the fear was leaving. I was returning to my body. I felt myself fill out my physical body, and that was it. So, I don't know what was going on. All I can say is that I'm researching the possibility of the spirit world, and I'm seeing if it's possible in my own life. And I want I'm in a way happy to have experiences that confirm or deny the reality of the spirit world. And apparently, every night you dream, every night you go to sleep, you interact in the spirit world. And if you can remember it, it may, or if I can remember these times, then maybe that will assist me in proving to myself that there is a spirit world. So even though I don't have the words to, I don't feel that I could really maneuver in this dream, in this separate reality. I do remember clearly a lot of what happened, and I'm not describing everything too well, and I don't know, you know, like when I was in my physical body, when I was in just a spirit body, or because AJ says that when you're sleeping, you're somewhere else. You're in your spirit body essentially, and your silver cord is connected to your physical body. But like I said, at one point I felt halfway between my physical body. Like I felt my physical body. So sometimes I think I was in the mists. There's a book called Through the Mists, and that it felt like a mist. I think that's kind of accurate, but I don't know. I wish I could remember my dreams more, but clearly something happened, and I'm glad something happened, and it was really scary. But now I'm here, so-called safe. Am I safe and sound? Am I just living in my fear? Is this fear deep inside of me and it's immense? Uh, I guess I'm going to try and find out more.